Hi, my name is Kevin. It all started one evening when I got home earlier than expected. My wife, Sarah, was supposed to be working late, but when I opened the front door, I was met with complete silence. I called out for her, but there was no response, and the house felt colder than usual. Something was off. As I walked into the living room, I froze. There they were, Sarah and my brother, Ben, in the most compromising position imaginable. My heart sank, and I felt like everything I had built with her, everything I had trusted, was crumbling right in front of me. I stood there, speechless, unable to comprehend what I was seeing. Ben, my own brother, was tangled in the sheets with my wife, the woman I loved. My mind raced. How long had this been going on? The betrayal stung deeper than any physical wound ever could. Sarah, once full of excuses, stared at me with a blank expression. Ben, who I had always considered family, didn't even have the decency to feel guilty. I couldn't just walk away from this. I needed answers, but more than that, I needed to make them feel the pain they had caused me. I didn't want to destroy them, not immediately, anyway, but I wasn't going to let this slide without a few consequences. The worst part? They both thought I would just forgive them, like everything would go back to normal. But I had other plans. Instead of confronting them right away, I took a step back and carefully thought through my revenge. I wanted it to hurt, yes, but I wasn't going to lose control and ruin my own life in the process. First, I played the patient game, pretending nothing had happened. I stayed calm, kept my emotions in check, and started researching every possible way I could get back at them without crossing a line. I knew my brother and wife were not only close, but also deeply involved in the local charity events I had helped organize. My first move was to use that against them. I began subtly pulling strings behind the scenes, making sure they would feel the sting of their actions without seeing it coming. I didn't want to destroy their lives entirely. I wanted them to live with the consequences of their betrayal for as long as possible. Slowly, I began planting seeds of doubt within their closest circle. I leaked rumors to mutual friends about Ben's sudden relationship problems and how Sarah had been acting suspiciously distant. People started questioning their loyalty and commitment. Friends stopped inviting them to events, and the community that once praised them for their charity work started turning their backs. I made sure it wasn't just a petty move but a public one, so everyone would know the truth. But that was just the beginning. The real revenge came when I manipulated Ben's career. Ben had recently been promoted to a managerial position at the company we both worked for, a position he had always dreamed of. I knew how much he valued that role. Using some inside knowledge I had acquired over the years, I subtly pushed certain decisions that would make him look incompetent in front of our bosses. I didn't sabotage him directly, but I guided his decisions in ways that led to failures. Slowly, his reputation within the company began to deteriorate, and his promotion was at risk. It wasn't instant, but every mistake he made seemed to snowball. He was under pressure, and the once promising career began to slip away. I watched from a distance, satisfied, but not completely fulfilled. I needed more. I needed Sarah to feel the weight of the betrayal she had caused. So, I began taking more active steps in our personal life, manipulating situations to make her life just uncomfortable enough. I stopped helping her with household chores. I ignored her calls and texts. I didn't show up for family events. When she tried to talk to me about our relationship, I pretended like everything was fine but kept my distance. I started going out with friends more often, leaving her alone with the guilt of what she had done. I didn't yell at her or throw a fit. I didn't need to. My silence was the most powerful tool I had. The more I withdrew, the more she felt the weight of her actions. After a couple of weeks, Sarah came to me, desperate for an explanation. She apologized, of course, but I could see right through it. It wasn't real remorse, it was guilt and fear. She knew her life was falling apart, and I wasn't going to make it easy for her. I made her wait for the answers she wanted. When she finally pushed for a conversation, I told her the truth. I was never going to forgive her. And as for Ben, I wasn't sure I'd ever look at him the same way again. But I wasn't finished. This was just the calm before the storm. I needed them both to understand the full weight of what they had done, not through anger, but through strategic, long-term consequences that they couldn't escape. And so, I waited and planned for the next stage of my revenge. But how would they react when they realized what I had set in motion? 3 weeks passed, and by now Sarah was spiraling. She looked tired, confused, paranoid, constantly second-guessing everything around her. The guilt was eating her alive, but what she didn't know was that it was only going to get worse. My revenge wasn't just about ruining a moment. It was about making both of them live through a slow, unraveling hell that mirrored what they did to me. I started documenting everything. Screenshots, dates, secret photos, building a detailed record of their affair, and then I sent an anonymous email to a few of Sarah's family members. Nothing direct, just enough to raise eyebrows. A blurry photo of them holding hands, a cryptic line like, "Isn't it crazy how close Sarah and Ben have gotten lately?" That was it. But it was more than enough. Within days, her cousin texted her asking awkward questions, and her aunt suddenly stopped inviting her to weekend brunches. Her own family began to quietly pull away. Sarah started accusing me of turning people against her, but I kept calm, innocent, and unreadable. "I have no idea what you're talking about," I told her with a straight face. "Maybe it's just guilt catching up to you." Meanwhile, I had other things in motion. I knew Ben had been seeing someone before he started sneaking around with my wife, a sweet, genuinely kind girl named Melissa. I felt bad for her. She didn't deserve what happened either. So I reached out to her anonymously and dropped enough clues for her to uncover the truth herself. Within days, she found Ben's texts to Sarah. She was shattered, but also furious, and when she confronted Ben, everything exploded. Ben tried to blame me, said I was sabotaging him. But Melissa wasn't stupid. She dumped him, moved out, and told a few of their mutual friends everything. His social circle, once tight and full of admiration, was now radioactive. Nobody wanted to be seen with him. He wasn't just losing friends, he was becoming a joke. A walking betrayal. And the best part? He still didn't know that I was the one orchestrating every step. At work, I made things worse without lifting a single illegal finger. I quietly pushed for a new systems audit, knowing Ben had left gaps in a few reports. Nothing major, nothing illegal, but enough to raise questions. Our supervisor began watching him closely. Every little mistake was now under the microscope. I knew Ben. He was confident, but he crumbled under pressure. So I applied the pressure. In meetings, I asked him questions I knew he didn't prepare for. I offered help only to back away last minute, making him look lost. A few colleagues began whispering about whether Ben had been promoted too soon. He started making rash decisions, late-night emails, and desperate power plays. Meanwhile, Sarah's emotional health was deteriorating. She cried often, isolated herself, and started talking about taking a break from work. I knew she was slipping, but again, I kept a smile on my face and pretended like I cared. Inside, I felt nothing. Maybe that was the scariest part. I didn't feel love or anger anymore. I felt control, and it was addictive. Then came the final piece. I organized a casual dinner party, inviting a few friends, family, and colleagues. Sarah, surprisingly, agreed to come. So did Ben. I acted like everything was fine, like I was moving on and wanted to make peace. They both arrived, awkward and quiet. The mood was tense. After dinner, I stood up and gave a little speech. I thanked everyone for coming, talked about forgiveness, and then casually mentioned how strong relationships are built on trust. That's when I played the video. A small clip from my hidden camera, the night I walked in on them. Just a few seconds. The room fell silent. Gasps. I didn't say a word. I simply walked out, leaving them to deal with the wreckage. That night, I slept like a baby. They had no idea how deep my revenge went, but they were about to find out. Because I wasn't done. The final twist, the one they never saw coming, was still waiting, and it would be the most painful of all. The video had detonated like a bomb. Overnight, Sarah and Ben became the shameful whispers in every conversation. My friends knew, their colleagues knew. Even distant family friends began reaching out with confused, shocked messages. But still, I hadn't delivered the final blow. See, revenge wasn't just about public humiliation. It was about stripping away everything they had taken from me. And now, I was going to take away what they valued most, their future. A week after the dinner party, I met with a lawyer. I didn't just file for divorce. I requested full control over every asset we owned together. And because of the documentation, the video proof, the journal I'd kept, the lawyer told me I had a strong case. Sarah tried to negotiate. She begged. Said it was a mistake, a lapse in judgment, that she still loved me. I didn't even flinch. I told her, "You threw that love away for a thrill." As the case progressed, I quietly informed her employer, without directly accusing her, just hinting that they might want to review her behavior and potential code of conduct violations with a fellow employee who just so happened to be my brother. HR took it seriously, very seriously. Ben was suspended while under investigation. Sarah? She was asked to resign. In 2 weeks, they both lost their jobs. Suddenly, their romantic betrayal didn't look so thrilling anymore. It looked like a chain tied to an anchor pulling both of them down. But I wasn't done. Remember Melissa? The sweet girl Ben had cheated on? She and I started talking more. Not romantically, at first, but just as two people betrayed by the same evil. We started helping each other heal. But somewhere along the way, that friendship grew into something deeper, something real. And here's where the twist hits hardest. When the divorce was finalized and I sold the house, I used the money to launch a small business Melissa had been dreaming about for years. She was stunned, grateful, and for the first time in a long time, happy. As for Ben and Sarah, they tried to move in together, but the reality of unemployment, social shame, and their mutual guilt shattered that illusion fast. Ben moved back in with our parents, ashamed and bitter. Sarah relocated to a different city, trying to escape the whispers. But no matter where they go, they'll always know I outsmarted them. I didn't scream. I didn't fight. I just calmly dismantled their lives brick by brick. And the best part? I kept my dignity, my peace, and my power. So if you're ever betrayed, don't just get angry. Get smart. Get calculated. And when you strike back, make sure it's a blow they'll never forget. Thank you for watching. If you love this revenge story, smash that like button, hit subscribe for more jaw-dropping tales like this, and don't forget to turn on the notification bell so you never miss the next one. Got a revenge story of your own? Drop it in the comments. I might just feature it in a future video. Until then, stay sharp and never let betrayal break you.